Hey, this is Kristen with the Mom Minute for this week. And I have my notes in front of me again. I just want to spend a few minutes talking through how to work through conflict with your spouse. Now, I'm going to share a few little tips. They can work in any relationship, but I'm mainly thinking about when you have a conflict, those hard conversations that you have to have with your spouse. Being in that type of intimate relationship, they come up. And Greg and I have been married 33 years, and we still have to work through some hard conversations. So I'm just going to share 7. I think I have little tips to help you walk through those conflicts really well with one another, because the goal of conflict is to strengthen your relationship. And believe it or not, it actually does. If you can maneuver through, if you can get through those hard conversations, the hard stuff, it is like a glue that gets your marriage and helps your marriage stay stronger. All right, tip number 1, and I wrote them down. So what's helpful for me, because I am I'm not really an auditory learner, even in church. Like, I write things down, all my notes I write down, I listen to podcasts, I like to write it down. So when we're having a hard conversation, if there's a conflict that Greg has with me, then I want to be able to say, okay, I'm just going to jot down a few things that you are saying. And it helps me to just kind of get it out, so I'm not like staring in his face, getting angry on the inside. I'm able to focus. So you want to just kind of write down, and then maybe if you're getting defensive about anything that is being said to you, just kind of jot that next to what you're recording, so that you can even do some self-evaluation of what is going on in your heart. Okay, that's the first thing, just to write down while you're having a conversation. Second thing is to remind yourself, keep telling yourself, I'll have an opportunity to share my feelings about this conflict after my spouse is done. So if you can just tell yourself that in your head, that helps kind of keep those emotions in check. Third thing is that just be really mindful that you love your spouse and to be respectful of them. So just remind yourself of how much you love your spouse. Think about, even while they're sharing frustration or a struggle or a conflict, think about the things that you love about your spouse. Try to keep focused on those things that are positive, the things that are full of joy in your relationship, because really that conflict is going to improve your relationship. So you want to keep your heart focused on the love that you have for your spouse, the love that you have for your husband, or if the wife is the one that's has a conflict, that you remember how much you love your wife, and that the goal of all of this is to win. It's the win-win, that we can come to an understanding and through the conflict be even more successful in our marriage. Okay, then the third thing is this would be the fourth thing. To just take deep breaths and to focus on just relaxing. Try to stay present. And you might need even just to say to your spouse, hey, I'm trying to stay present. I'm feeling some anxiety, or I'm feeling some, either anger or fear or frustration myself. So if I can just take some deep breaths while you're talking, if I can write things down while you're talking, it helps me to focus on you. So again, this is our whole goal, is this is that active listening. We want to listen to work through any of the conflicts that we have. Then the fifth thing so we've got write down, if that helps, and how you're feeling about it, to remind yourself that I'll get my turn to share my feelings, to really be mindful of how much you love and have affection for your spouse. Fourth thing is to just take deep breaths, really focus on relaxing, because sometimes the conversations that we have to have are really hard. They can be very painful, and they can kind of be like, ooh, arrows in the heart. So that focusing on relaxing, breathing deep, and just not reacting in those seconds, in those moments, is really helpful to work through conflict. All right, so number 5. Consider what is true. So if your spouse has a conflict, as they're sharing, is there something that they're saying that requires your participation, to say, I'm really sorry, and to ask for forgiveness? just had this happen last weekend when Greg and I went on a bike ride. We were trying a new trail, and it had poured Friday night and all day Saturday and Saturday night. So we got to this new trail in a place we hadn't been to before, and we get out on the trail and it was completely muddy, and we just couldn't, there's no way we would have had a good bike ride. Still could have walked or ran through it, but so Greg's like, let's go on the street. So we ended up on the street, and it's really hilly, and there was construction, so it was kind of, we had cars, it was really packed with cars, and we ended up, we did about, 14 miles or something, which I of course wanted like 25 miles on the trail. So in my heart, I was already disappointed. I was frustrated. I don't like road biking as much as I like trails. There's nothing beautiful to look at. Well, the houses were, but nothing in nature. So in my heart, I was getting really angry, and I kept saying something about it. Well, this is dumb, and I can't even believe those things. I was really kind of mean to my husband. So when we got done with the ride, Greg, we had like right there, he's like, hey, you know what? This was not okay. Your response was not okay. I'm not out to make you do something you don't want to do. I don't want to put you on a trail that's uncomfortable for you. I just thought we want to ride, and let's just give this a try. We'd never been here. It's not like I was purposeful. So we kind of walked through it, had to work through some of this conflict, which is why I'm sharing this today. But there was a lot of truth in what he said. So I had to ask for forgiveness, and I had to keep believing that my husband loves me. He loves going on rides with me. So I had to keep telling myself, reminding myself of the love that he has for me, the love that I have for him. So that's where this is all coming from. So remember or consider what's true, and then ask for forgiveness. The next one, number 6, don't get defensive. Our goal in this, Stephen Covey says, you seek to understand before you're understood. So your husband, your wife's complaints, the conflict they're having, it's all about them. It doesn't reflect you, so don't take it personally. This is their needs they're trying to work through, so you want to listen really intently. Give them the attention that they deserve to be able to work through the conflict with success, to increase intimacy in your marriage. Number 7, sometimes you have to ask your spouse to reframe what they're saying, or sometimes it can feel like an attack. So to just say, hey, can you just say that another way, or can you reframe that? Because I'm feeling like you're attacking me right now in the way that you're saying that. So it's perfectly acceptable to be able to ask your spouse, hey, I'd like you to just kind of say it a different way. Can you just share, I'm not really quite understanding, or I'm feeling really attacked in how you're voicing this conflict. Because you want to solve the problem. We have to figure out, we got to explore some ways to solve that problem. So sometimes we need to, personally, as we're having the conflict, we have to reframe it so they can understand, or we need to ask our spouse, our husbands, to reframe that so we can understand. And then the last one, number 8 then, is to push pause. If either of you are just struggling, emotions are starting to get high, nothing is going to get solved. So just put a pause button, put the stop, take a walk, say let's come back in 20 minutes, a half an hour, let's revisit this tonight. And you never want to go into conflict, like this conflict resolution, how to listen well when you're tired or in the heat of the moment. Like if you've just had a huge argument, you don't want to say, all right, let's sit down and hash this out. Like you want to be in a place where emotions are low, you're a little removed from the conflict, and then to be able to have this conversation. So that is the Mom Minute for today. So just kind of working through conflict that can create even more intimacy in your marriage. It's worth it. And the more success that you have with working through conflict, the more you're going to want to work through every conflict that you and your spouse have. All right, have a blessed week.